So if the reason why I even started creating before Earth To Kaylo was a thing, before I even started producing the type of videos that y'all saw, I was on a spam page, and I looked myself in the mirror one day. If I'm gonna be real with you, it was after a breakdown that I had, and it was something that my ex's mom had said about me, and it hit me so hard.
Yeah.
And I looked myself in the mirror, and I felt like I couldn't recognize myself anymore. So I felt like I needed to make some kind of change. So I just started presenting the changes that I was making and the things that I was doing to change to a very small platform. And those people started appreciating what I was putting out there. Like I say, I'm going to the gym today. I'm gonna focus on making sure that I do the things to make myself feel good. I'm putting down the weed for a while. I'm working out. Like all of these things compounded and made me feel better about myself, but they also motivated people to do the same thing.
Welcome back to the Kickback Lounge podcast. My name is Drew Young, and I'm here with my co-host in the building, Kenny Brown.
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
And then we got a very special guest in the building. We got Kaylin in the building, a.k.a. Kaylo, a.k.a. Earth To Kaylo. How's it going, bro?
Hey,
What's going on? What's going on,
man? I appreciate y'all.
So we were just talking about some high vibration shit, starting doing poems and stuff. I don't know. Maybe you'll hear a poem throughout this podcast. But I want to start today. I want to talk about how we met, right? So shout out, big up, No Cap Kobe. Yeah, that's the homie.
That's a cool dude, bro, man.
Yeah. So we're doing a video. We're doing a video with him. But I want to start. How did you meet him?
How did I meet him?
Yeah.
How did I meet Kobe? Actually, where did I meet Kobe at, bro?
Was it like you?
Oh, I remember now. So it was the night that Smino did his concert at the Stifle.
Okay.
Ooh.
And I was walking up to the actual auditorium, and I was like, "Is that Kobe?" And I seen him go into St. Louis Fish and Chicken, and I was with my homie too. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm hungry. I'm not going in there because Kobe there. I'm actually hungry."
Yeah, he was. He was going in there because Kobe's going.
I'm like, all right. I mean, shit. Like, we can get some food.
Yeah.
So, went in there and ordered, and I was like, you No Cap Kobe, right? And he was like, yeah. I was like, I fuck with your content, bro, and I appreciate what you're doing for the city. You're a creative
100%,
that has had a huge impact on people outside of St. Louis as well. You make very entertaining content. And me, I always try to get into the reason why people do things, just because I like sharing experiences and learning from anybody and everybody from all walks of life. So, if he's so passionate and so successful when it comes to creating in a space like YouTube, and then it carries over into other platforms, I'm like, so why do you do what you do? Like, what got you into it, and what are you doing next? Like, what's coming up for you? So we chopped it up for a quick second, and I told him, I create content, showed him my page, and then I also have a marketing and media agency. So we was just rapping from there, and we just connected, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna put you in a video. I'm like, okay.
That's dope. And then he kept his word too, right?
Yeah, bro. He hit me and was like, yeah, you want to be in a video? I'm
That's
like,
what's up, bro.
I'm like, sure. What video though? He was like, this video was so. I was like, should I even do this? Because I had never even been in a YouTube video before, bro.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
at all?
Okay.
Never, bro. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna go in there and test my
attractiveness,
test my attractiveness, bro. So I'm like, I feel like I'm a decent 7. So I should be at least in the middle of the pack. Sometimes some people have preferences, so
we're gonna get it. We'll break down the video, but I do want to give my proud shout out Kobe. I met him through, so I don't know if you know Nemo Guapo. He's like one of the content creators. It's just around, a lot of the creators work together and stuff here. But I had met Nemo through a friend, like one of my best friends, and they worked together, and they were just like hella funny. So I did a podcast with Nemo, and then he had put me on. Shout out to Nemo too, because he's put me on to like so many creators and stuff.
Oh, no, seriously.
And that dude's always like in the mix. I don't know, like
he's done a lot. Honestly, he showed us Biscuit, and he showed us
Trex and all them.
Yeah.
But so I met Kobe through him, and he was just like, I guess I started watching his videos because he knew him, and I was like, I'll like check out his content and stuff. And then we did a podcast. I think Kobe was like 18 or something at the time.
Yeah, he was very young.
Yeah, he had just like graduated high school, I think. And I'm a little bit older than him. I don't know. I think I was like 22 or 21 at the time.
How old are you?
I'm 25 now.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you?
I'm 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had met him. He was super cool and like open with his content and just a chill dude on video and off video too. Because he's like, I've had people ask me like, oh, how is he, and like off the camera, which is a weird thing to ask.
Person,
exact
same
person,
exact same person,
and that's what I noticed off a rip. I'm like, yeah, you're genuine, you're authentic, bro. And I can really appreciate that,
and especially like I don't know how many people you've ran into that are either like themselves on camera or not like themselves off camera. That's something I definitely appreciate about him too, because I try to like be authentic. And when I do my content or like podcast, because it's just like, if you record so much stuff, after a while, people are going to know if you're like phony or if you're bullshitting.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, and you do open yourself up to like making mistakes.
Right.
And it's just part of the process. Like, I mean, we'll probably get canceled. Like,
we've said some stuff that it just should not be put out.
It's just is what it is. It's part of the process.
It's part of it, man.
But yeah, shout out to him. So yeah, let's break down that video a little bit.
All right.
So it was like, I think he had mentioned it to me. He DM'd me and he's like, yeah, we're recording this video if you want to hop in it. And like I've seen some of them on YouTube. It was like just like a lineup of rate these.
What's his name? Sid the Kid.
King Sid.
King Sid,
yeah. He's killing it right now. And but it was like rate these people off lineup or whatever. And I'm thinking like, oh shit. I'm thinking like we're gonna rate the girls and then they're gonna rate us. Bro, I was fuck. I'm thinking back to it because I'm like, I just came in like some regular fit. I think I had just gotten off work. But
he said he came in the regular fit, bro.
Yeah, it's just like a super superficial thing.
Yeah.
And like you sign up for it, so like you should know. And I didn't think like, okay, let me wear my best fit. I did get a fresh cut.
Yeah.
Cologne.
So yeah, we'll talk about how it went. So you said for you like I remember as well. But yeah, just break down, how was that experience for you?
I mean, it was cool, bro. It was definitely cool being there. It was some points where I just like the whole environment was cool. Like the way that he got everybody ready for the video, the way that he was, leading, being the owner of the channel and actually being the creative that he is. But it was interesting to see once the camera started rolling, like he was immediately just like, no cap Kobe. Like he's still the same person, but it's just like a difference in the presence that he holds.
Yeah, you gotta entertain and do your thing.
And that was different for me too. So kind of seeing him be able to lead all of these people and
just turn it on
and be the center of attention the whole time and conduct himself so well, I was like, yeah, I can definitely appreciate that for sure.
It kind of gives you an insight of like why he's so popular.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, we got to meet each other. He separated girls and boys, and like in this environment, like I've never been in a big YouTuber-esque environment.
Yeah,
I'm not really
either, bro.
Yeah, so because this was your first YouTube video ever, and that's not a normal video to be in,
bro.
Yeah, what was that like?
I was like, this is gonna be my gateway into YouTube. I'm like, do I really want to do this? I was really debating because for a long time I tried to figure out exactly what I want my brand to represent and what I want to be a part of. Okay. So I was like, if I want my brand to be like self-improvement, mindset, lifestyle, that kind of stuff, like doesn't make sense for me to participate in a video like this. But it's not that deep, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like go, see what it's like. And I enjoyed myself for sure. So like after that, I was in a few of my other friends' videos.
Okay.
One of my other friends, his name's Maury Bands. I don't know if you've heard of him or met him before, but he's coming up in the YouTube space in St. Louis. He's done a few different things. And I was a smasher pass too, so like I went from the girls rate guys to the smasher pass, so like it was a cool transition.
That would always be a fun thing, and it is like a vulnerable thing. You have to be like,
have some sort of security in yourself.
If you're like, I mean, for me, like I don't think I really knew. Like I knew what the videos were, but I was like, oh shit, I look good, bro. Like I'm like I'm good. Like, right. I mean, if you watch the video, like I'm like near the end and most of the things, And I'm like, a lot of times it comes down to like height and shit plays a factor, and I'm like,
that's
fucking
a huge factor, bro.
Yeah, I'm like 5'8", 5'9" in shoes, and like some people there, they're like 6 foot, and it's like I wasn't even thinking about like that deep. I was just like, oh, it's Kobe. I get to see like Nemo and shit, and then like be in a fun video. I wasn't like it really doesn't matter at the end of the day.
I mean,
it's just like a fun thing.
It's not that deep, but at the end of the day, you know, like go in, have fun, man. The people that I met there were some dope people. It was some people I already knew too.
Yeah.
So, but I'm not gonna lie, like there were certain moments where I just kind of felt like I didn't really know who to talk to or what to do. I'm just kind of there for
because like in between the segments, you guys are talking and like chopping it up, right?
Yeah, talking and chopping it up. Like I would have different conversations with some people and just talk about different stuff. But I don't know, like it takes a certain kind of person for me to really like dive deep into a real conversation. Like we were talking for a second.
Yeah, we were talking. That's where I originally met you, and then like that's part of the reason why I mean you're here today, and like I wanted to get you on the pod, because we were just talking about like life and like what kind of content you do, and
that's something I'm kind of curious about too. I wanted to ask, like, going through your page, because I've never met you, you know, at that little function and stuff like that. So like going through your page, I just see your content. It's a lot of quality to it, right?
I appreciate that.
No, seriously, it's really, really good quality content. Like if you're from St. Louis, check them out. We'll leave it in the description. But my question is like, when it goes into making content like that, is that come from a place of like that passion? Does that come from like a place of pain, or is that a place of purpose? Like, did you just wake up one day and be like, I need to do this, or did you wake up and say, were you like, I'm in a bad spot in my life, I need to switch it up? Because I know we talked about it off podcast.
Yeah, like off pod, you know, I briefly mentioned that the reason why I started creating was because I started experiencing things that I had never felt before.
Right.
Like to get into my life story, just I'm trying to sum it up real quick. But
we got time, bro.
Okay, say less. I was like in high school and like K through 12, you know what I'm saying? I was always the kid that people would look to and be like, yeah, he's smart, he's going somewhere. Like I had the good grades. I was a pretty decent athlete, you know what I'm saying?
Family?
Yeah.
How was it?
Family was cool, bro. I mean, like I grew up with mostly my grandma and grandpa, and then my mom's too. Dad was never really a part of my life, but the way my grandparents raised me, they raised me a certain way to where I never felt like I was missing anything.
Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah, and that's the reason why I am the way I am now. Like if you have a conversation with me and I tell you like I'm 22, people don't believe me at first. I'm like, no, you're capping. I'm like, I just was raised by some grandparents that had some wisdom to instill into me, and I decided to listen. You know.
Yeah,
but
it accelerates your maturity a bit, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So you know, I had this whole little plan. You know, like I was like, okay, you get the good grades in high school. Excuse me. And then you go to college, you get the degree, you get the 6-figure job. Yep. That's the way people thought my life was gonna go. So I graduated high school and I decided I wanted to be some sort of engineer. So I went to Missouri S&T for a year, and I knew that whatever type of engineering that I was gonna be, they were gonna have it. You know, so I was like, okay, well, I'm covered on my bases here. I'm good. And it was a top 3 engineering school in the country, but that also made the classes extremely difficult when it came to math and science. So I started going through that, and there was a point in my life where I wasn't doing good in school. I was isolating myself from my family.
This was college?
Yeah, this was college, bro. It's so easy to isolate yourself at Rolla.
Oh, it's very easy.
Absolutely.
It's super easy.
For those who aren't from St. Louis, that Rolla is about what, 2 hours away?
Yeah,
hour and a half?
About an hour and 40, something like that.
Hour and 40 from St. Louis. So there's literally nothing out there really, unless it's like in that little community. So
yeah, and in the black community, it's actually been growing since I left, which is you know great for them. But when I was there, nobody was really interacting as heavily, and then COVID also was a thing too. So during that time frame, I was also like it was my first very serious relationship post high school. Yeah, and I really wanted to get this one right.
What year was that when you went out there?
When I went out to
college, because you said it was near the pandemic. Was it like right before?
Yeah, so like my freshman year was. Well, I graduated in 2019.
Okay, so this was like right before the fucking storm.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, our freshman year, COVID hit, and then we had to go back home, and we didn't really get the second half of the semester. So once we came back, during that time frame, me and the girl had started dating. You know, it was cool. Like, it was a person that I really held in high regard, and I felt like we connected on a lot of levels. But there was a lot of different things wrong in the way that we held the dynamic of our relationship. and I felt like I was losing myself by trying to adhere to her needs a lot of the time.
I think that's something that happens, especially like in your first relationship. If you're a guy, like your first relationship, you're not thinking about the second, third, or whatever is going to happen after. You're just like trying to make this one work.
Yeah.
You're like,
make sure this one's good.
If it's good enough, you're like, okay, this is a person I want to marry. You know, like if they need anything, I'm down for it. But you don't necessarily realize you can't completely sacrifice yourself, and especially being like super young, depending on when people get in their relationships. But like being super young, you have to worry about yourself as well, you know?
You do, you know, and you have to figure out what you need as well, you know, like it has to be mutual there.
100%.
And I'm not saying anything to, you know, talk about her bad or nothing. It was it was just the dynamic that we held. It just wasn't really constructive. And it wasn't really going to move us forward, I feel like, effectively. So when that was failing, I was failing in college. Things just kind of weren't working out. And I have this bad tendency of isolating myself when I feel like I'm struggling with something, which is the exact opposite of what you should do, obviously. But you know how life goes. And during that time frame, it was a point in my life where I was smoking weed so much, bro. I was just consuming myself with different things that would distract me from what I was really feeling.
It can take over your life.
Yeah, it can. It can, man. And it's not like it's a bad thing all the time.
No,
but it has to come with some sort of balance. You know? Like if you're escaping from the thoughts that you're experiencing on a daily basis, like you're smoking to remove that and just numb whatever feelings that you're having.
Yep.
And then you're not allowing yourself to process your emotions. And I was never the type of person that would not be able to communicate how I was feeling. But it got to a point to where I try to have a conversation with Shorty, and I'm like, I can't even hold a conversation without getting so emotional and breaking down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this isn't right.
Was it just like toxic stuff going on, like the way you guys would communicate, or?
I would say I guess you could say kind of toxic, bro, but toxic is such a weird word, bro. I would just say that
word.
It was just the way that we communicated. How would I describe it? I would say we didn't start it off right.
Okay.
We didn't start things off right. And I think it was really my fault because of the fact that when I, you know, the puppy dog stage and the puppy love stage, like I consistently allowed myself to be under her all the time. And that's not really
overlooked.
Yeah, that's not really how I can function in a relationship.
Yeah.
Like I have to have a mission and a purpose outside of the person that I'm with. And if I don't have that, then things start to kind of fall apart.
Yeah, so we're going to get into it, but I do want to talk about, since you mentioned the weed thing, do you smoke now or no?
I do, I do. I really try to like watch how much I consume though. Like there's certain points where I'll pick it up more than I would like to, and then I'll say, okay, it's time to give it a rest, you know, cleanse myself and get that together too. Yeah, but I would say that overall, I just kind of enjoy it because I love having conversations with people, and a lot of the time, if you got a little gas in you, you know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to kind of unwind, relax, and then really kind of
put your thoughts together.
Go deep. When did you start?
I started when I didn't smoke heavily until like freshman year of college, for real.
Yeah. I remember I started smoking when I was like, I think 18, 19, and I was like doing the same thing, like going to college. I just quit like 2 months ago, like 2.5 months ago or something. I stopped drinking and smoking completely just because like you can get through life functioning well with it and stuff, and like for me personally, it was just like it got to a point where it's like, okay, I could like go to work high. Like I wouldn't work at I wouldn't do like any radio stuff high because I would just like it's too much of a risk and like it costs too much money if I fuck up. But like I mean I have another job too, so I would go there and be like stoned and shit, and then it was just like I didn't feel like I was getting my maximum potential through in terms of like work or content or production. But it's interesting too, it's like a two-sided thing because when I would film a lot, people have their creative process, and if I like smoke and then like sit down at the Adobe, like I got everything filmed, and I sit down at like Premiere Pro, then it's just like ideas just like flowing.
Really? So it was a creativity booster for you?
Definitely, but it's also like put me in it held me down a little bit, because it's like you can have all the creativity in the world, but without the actual production, is it worth it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you still got to believe in your own ability, and if you want to use it, that's fine. It's just for me personally, it was like I want to maximize. Like I said, I'm 25 now, so it's like I want to maximize my potential and build stuff that is going to last a very long time, and I want to be able to focus on that. But yeah. So, I mean, there's different creative realms, not even just creative realms, but there's different realms of life. And I feel like your content does a lot of like exploring, and it gives advice on different things, whether it's like people say health, wealth, and fitness. How do you like kind of categorize your content?
I would say that it's just each aspect of my life that I hold most important. You know, like I always kind of like, you know, throwing on a good fit and doing some fashion related things. So
yeah, you got some good fits.
I
you got some good fits.
It's nothing too crazy. You know?
I mean,
some slight.
yeah.
But yeah. So like I love doing that. So you'll see some good fits here and there. You know what I'm saying? And then so when I first started, that was all I did though. I would do like fashion related content because I thought I wanted to be a fashion influencer. Like I thought I wanted to build out that way. But then I realized that I started to question like what was most valuable about me and what could I present that people would get the most out of, you know. So I started asking the people that was closest to me, and then I would ask some people that weren't as close to me as well, and I would look for the things that overlapped, and that's how I figured out that I wanted to focus more on mindset, like self-improvement, and you know, different pieces of wisdom and stuff like that. So I try to incorporate that in whatever I produce now.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So when you're making like self-improvement content, is it hard to come up with ideas, or if you're going through like, I guess, a lower phase or like low vibes, or like you're not really feeling it, is it hard to make that kind of content, or does it motivate you?
It can be. Sometimes, like I would say that I put so much pressure on myself sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And I talk about that a lot. Like I never want people to feel like I'm just this motivated person that wakes up and gets active and never feels like I'm low, you know. And I feel like some of the content that I make might portray that, but if you watch long enough and you see the different phases of my life and different thoughts that I've had, you can see where I'm consistently questioning my own thoughts, which is a good thing and a bad thing. You know, like what is it like? Do you ever have internal conflicts like that? Do you have stuff like that?
You can go ahead first.
I would say, because I have a question, like a follow-up question to this, but I would say I do have those conflicts as far as like everyday life and just how you process certain thoughts. But I was gonna ask, like, it's like you talked about how you like to focus on certain aspects of your life. When you look at like today's world and kind of like how you structure that life, I remember there's a, you know, like a little pyramid in school that shows you, you know, you're supposed to have like family, this portion you have.
Talking about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah, you got different portions of your life and how that is supposed to go. Do you think that still applies to today's world?
I think that without prioritizing what you find most important, you will never live the life that you really desire. You know, you got to sit down and ask yourself, what's most important. You know, what do I think is most important, and what types of experiences, relationships, and connections do I find fill my cup the most, and what makes me feel most fulfilled, you know?
I think one of the things you tweeted was it basically comes from the quote of like, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall, or if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Yeah, basically. So yeah, that's definitely important. Like you said, like find your core values.
Yeah, bro. And I think that all started from, you know, we talked a little bit off camera about the pod that I used to do with my friend, like Fake Pod, Instagram Lives. You know, I never posted in a podcasting realm, but it all started with us trying to figure out what kind of man that we really wanted to be by the time we were married and with a family. Like, what do those values look like? And then how do we work backwards to figure out where we are right now in order to get there? So if those are the type of things that I prioritize, or that I feel like the person that I ideally want to be in a decade will prioritize, then how can I make my actions align with those specific things?
Yeah, one of the things me and Kenny talked about a while back when we were younger. It's like there comes this point in, I can only speak from a man's perspective, but there comes a point in a man's life where there's like a switch that kind of just flips, and it's like you said, you start to think about, what do I really value? Where do I want my life to be? Some people like will mask it and fold,
Yep.
and they won't really like
accept that.
They won't really like move on from there. And it's like a lot of people's growth isn't necessarily just like exponential growth, like ups and downs. That's life.
Yeah, that's how it goes, bro.
Yeah, it's funny. For the question about internal conflict, I think that's definitely a big factor about life, and that's how you grow. Essentially, is just asking yourself different questions. I go through it all the time. I talk to like I can talk to my mom, and like she's a very like smart woman, and like can challenge me on like my ideas and why I think the way I do. And just I work in an industry where like people give their opinions, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think being able to believe what you believe and be able to think what you want to think and like work through those ideas, I think that's an important fundamental of society. And like one reason I like living in America is because you can actually have these opinions whether or not people agree with you or not. And like obviously not everybody feels that way and like thinks that like people should think this way, people should think that way, but I think there's beauty in the fact that you can think what you want and like have
That's a great segue, because I was going to say, like, you talk about relationships and how, building a relationship with someone and making like a genuine connection is important. We talked about Kobe. What do you believe is more important when you build relationships? Do you think it's more important to be natural in relationships, or is it more important to be likable in relationships?
If you focus on being likable to the person that you're trying to, end up with, or you're trying to impress them, and that requires you to step outside of yourself, then you're doing something wrong. Like it's so much more important to remain who you are and figure out what type of person that aligns with and what type of compatibility that would require in order to build something that's truly genuine and authentic.
100%. And I agree with you on that.
Like, have you ever had an experience where you stepped outside of yourself to try to impress someone? And how did that work out for you?
True. And the thing is, like, whenever you do that, like where you have that person you try to impress, or like I was in a 5-year relationship. So like that, my wake up call to the game was like, a couple months ago, and like a year ago. And, like you said, it's like, you do have to step outside of yourself in order to know how you're perceived. And you want to make sure that you're perceived as a person who is genuine, because you basically put off what you get back, And if you let in people who are not genuine, that can bring you down, and you can start to lose sense of self. And that's why it's very important, in my opinion, to have that natural relationship building, people that you can kind of latch onto and say, we share something here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I think the reason why I like doing stuff like this so much and just having conversations in general is because I honestly value different perspectives.
100%.
Like it's everything to me to be able to hear why somebody thinks the way they think, and even if it contradicts with what I may believe,
100%.
Maybe I'm able to pull something out of that that's like, oh, okay, well, I can see why you feel that way. Like, even if I feel differently, I can still listen and understand your perspective without feeling like I need to battle with you over it.
Yeah, that's an important. I mean, that's kind of why this podcast works, and like why we like podcasting, and just kind of like why we started is just to have conversations with different people and like have different beliefs. It's definitely important. I want to ask you about one of your tweets you have here. It says, stop blaming where or how you grew up for the caliber of person that you are today. Take some accountability for the person you become. If you don't like it, I'd suggest you make some changes, because as an adult, the ball is in your court. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, man. I mean, the person that you are by the time that you're like 10, 15, or you're a teen is highly attributed or extremely based upon how you were raised or the environment that you were in.
100%.
And that determines your values. Now, if you don't do the work to put yourself in different positions to get different perspectives and allow yourself to hear different sides of the story that are maybe that contradict what you may believe, then how can you really grow?
Yeah.
You know, that's why, like I said, this is so important to me, because the more that I talk to different people and gain their experiences, then the more that I feel like the ball is in my court on whether or not that I change myself.
Yeah.
100%.
I think, maybe you should start a podcast and,
Hey man, I think that's gonna happen in the future for sure.
Yeah, because you already got the creative side. That's something we had to learn. Just like as we've done it, we've gotten better at just communicating with people, learning like how to like not cut people off, how to let people express their full opinions and stuff. It's definitely an interesting thing.
Yeah.
But one thing, I don't know if you ever, Charlemagne the God.
Yeah.
So one thing, his book, Black Privilege, Opportunity Comes to Those Who Wait. I read that one. I listen to books because I'm like an audio person.
Yeah, me too.
Like an auditory learner. But one thing he said, it's kind of like similar to that tweet. It's just about like everyone has privilege in some way, shape, or form. Like for example, say you're walking at night, right, outside, and we're in St. Louis, it's dark, and you're like a black man, right? If it's you versus like, let's say like some woman walking down the street, potentially you have certain privileges there, and you have certain like, I guess, non-privileges.
Yeah.
So let's say, for example, maybe a cop might stop you. That's one thing. But also, let's say somebody, it's like hella crackheads. I call them wanderers walking around here.
Some walkers.
It's
Wanderers.
It's a
Walkers
fact.
is crazy.
It's a fact.
Walkers is
I say
wild.
wanderers.
Bro.
I say wanderers.
Hey,
Because
from
like,
St. Louis, man.
I've been here. Sometimes I have to work here at like 4 a.m. and I have to I'm here at like 3:30, just like driving the streets.
Man.
It's a lot of wanderers walking around, bro. It's a fact. Sorry, it's a fact. But maybe they might like, if say it's a woman walking by herself, they might rob her and attack her.
Yeah.
But like if they see you, maybe they're like, I don't know.
Yeah, like people target different people for different reasons.
Right.
Exactly. There's like, that's throughout society. Like there's different privileges. So I just think that's something that's important, and I like the fact that you tweeted that, because like you said, there's nurture versus nature. Like the way you're taught, the way you're raised is definitely gonna
100%
affect your belief system as you get older, and it's something to keep in mind that like if anybody's listening to this and they are like not the person they want to be, which most people aren't the person they want to be, you should, in my opinion, you should want to grow and be better. But it's definitely like, don't blame your circumstance.
Correct.
And just be stuck in that mindset of like, I'm here because of how I was raised. I'm unlucky. It is what it is. And that's how it's always going to be, because you'll never get to where you want to be.
And like when you go back to like what you just said too, like when I was growing up, my mom would do this thing where like she would say, because I was like, in school and like grade school and like middle school, there's days where you're late, days where you miss the bus, shit like that. And, I got a black mother. Obviously, my mom would beat my ass whenever I'd miss the bus or I'd be late.
Yeah.
And one of the things she told me that still sticks with me today is she would say, you're setting up yourself for who you want to be. You're basically building habits for who you're going to be as an adult, as an adult man. So in other words, if I was hitting snooze on my alarm, if I didn't have my shoes and my clothes laid out at night, if I didn't have my soap ready and my toothbrush ready, making sure I had certain things ready to go for me when that alarm goes off, I was basically putting myself at a disadvantage. I was putting myself behind the curve. And that's something that stuck with me, man. As a man, that's something that really does stick with you, and that just keeps replaying in my head. It's like, she told me as a kid then, is like, it's basically you versus you. And so, if you're basically hitting that snooze button, getting that extra 5 minutes of sleep, you're putting yourself 5 minutes behind everybody else. So you can keep doing it if you want, but you're building habits to be that person as an adult. And it's just one of those things that just stuck with me, man. Because like, it makes you not build bad habits. It makes you not go down that road, not take the easy route, So it's very powerful.
That's major, man. And having somebody to say something like that to you at a young age is monumental, bro.
Yeah, she was very, very, very strong. And when you go back to like how you're raised, that definitely does show, because she was trying her best, man, every day. And so like we talked about it before, it was points in my time where I was homeless and stuff, and you go through that kind of adversity so many times, it instills a certain wake up in you that you just really can't get rid of that. So
would you say that because you've been through situations like that you've built an ability to persevere?
Oh yeah, easy. Yeah. And I think also our environment, St. Louis. I mean, if you guys know St. Louis, you hear it on TV. Oh, it's the number one murder capital in the world. It's not. If you know where to go, where to be, and where to surround yourself, you'll be fine. But it is definitely one of those cities.
You might be fine.
It's definitely one of those cities, though,
shit
man.
Could pop
it's a
off
grind.
just randomly.
It's a grind. I mean,
man, like it's so crazy,
hard.
bro. This is one of my most vivid childhood memories.
Mm-hmm.
I was probably about 10 or 11, and consistently for weeks, I would come home and watch the news, because I used to watch the news with my grandparents just to kind of see what was going on and stuff. And at the beginning of every news segment, they would talk about who had died that day.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember in my child mind, I was literally like watching TV and be like, I wonder who's gonna die today. And that's a crazy way to think.
Crazy way to think.
Mm-hmm. And I just got so used to hearing about death in this city, man.
Mm-hmm.
It was continuous for days and days, and I just started anticipating it. And it's crazy that you have to do that when it comes to the city that you live in, but it's just the reality of St. Louis a lot of the time.
Yeah, it's just home. You're growing up, it's just home. So
I do I produce for news, talk, and radio. So sometimes we're talking about just like crime, sometimes we're talking politics, but like we do have news at the beginning of every hour. Mm-hmm. And like that's literally the first thing you hear. This person's been shot. It's a reality of life. But I mean, you also have we do live in one of the most dangerous places. I mean, it's more like on the east side, but I mean north as well. Just depends. Well, yeah. It can pop off anywhere. But it does, like, sometimes you just have to take perspective as well, because I'll hear people complaining sometimes about just like stuff that's not important. Mm-hmm. And I don't take this stance always, and I complain about stuff as well. But I'll hear just people complaining about stuff that doesn't really matter. No. And I'm like, at least you don't like live in Ukraine right now. At least you're not like
privilege
trafficking.
Is inevitable. Bro.
Yeah,
it's inevitable. And there was a class that I took in high school. It was AP Literature, and I would never forget the fact that she instilled what privilege really means. Mm-hmm. You always have it better than somebody else, and there's always somebody that has it better than you. Yeah, you know, like if you look at you walk around with two legs and 2 feet. Mm-hmm. There's people that don't have that, so you're privileged over those people. Yeah. But then there's there's socioeconomical issues that place you behind the starting line when you're born. Mm-hmm. So you're automatically at a disadvantage, and people have a privilege over you in those situations as well.
Were you taught that at young?
I was taught the reality, like that I had to present myself a certain way if I wanted to appear, if I wanted to appear acceptable in some rooms.
That's huge.
Who taught you that? Do you remember the advice?
Yeah, it was my grandma, and it was really she just always wanted me to conduct myself in a respectful manner in all rooms. Like,
that's huge.
And I remember being a kid, and whenever I would go somewhere and I would come back and he'd be like, "Yeah, Kaylen's such a respectful kid. Like we didn't have any problems out of him. Like I was a pretty good kid overall. I didn't cause too many problems." Mm-hmm. Like I didn't really feel the need to push the envelope too much, and if I did, it wasn't something too crazy. So
yes, ma'am, no, ma'am.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah.
I mean, for me, it was kind of similar, but I mean, I wasn't the best kid. I didn't like to get caught. That's the thing. Like if I was fucking around or something in school, I only got in trouble one time, and that's for like leaving campus and like going to Subway or something. But that's not like a big thing. But I mean, I wasn't the best, but I was always taught like a lot of my fundamental morals. I was raised Catholic from basically my grandparents. Now I'm more agnostic, but and for those, we can get into that later. For those who don't really know the true definition of what that means, but it's definitely like you definitely have to carry some morality about you, I feel like. And I'm mixed race. My mom's white, my dad's black, and I was taught from my mom that like, and this was early, I don't know how old I was, probably like 10, 11. Mm-hmm. She's like, people are like, the way I present, like if from white people, they're gonna be like, oh, he's a black dude, or like Arab or some shit, they don't really know, or Mexican. It just depends on the day. Yeah. But
and the tan, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They're like, she basically told me like, you're gonna have to work harder in this life just because that's how it is.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important lesson. I think that's why family is important.
Yeah.
Just to give you advice and teach you really how you should act throughout this world.
100%.
If you want to maximize who you are or just like survive, But it's important. What do you think about
that? I think a lot about that. I mean, that's definitely like what we live in. And, growing up, me and Drew were called county brownies and shit like that.
That's a big thing in St. Louis.
Because of how, because of how we talk and how we present ourselves, what we wear.
Bro.
And the thing is, like, bro, it's funny. It was funny, bro. But it's like, that's just who we were. That's who we are.
Man. Like, it's funny now for me, but back then, like I was raised to talk a certain way. I was raised to I had a large vocabulary.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't use the type of words that I
yes.
used. So that I would constantly get that I talk white.
Yep.
So I mean, I adopted some slang here and there, so you'll kind of hear it come in and out whenever I feel like I really need to express something. I use, I really articulate and use some different words.
For sure. Code switch.
But I don't know. I think it just kind of plays.
Be honest.
It just kind of plays into who I am, though. Like it's overall natural. Like I can be talking to whoever and.
Yep.
And I can say, like, you know what I'm saying, and then I can use all the different,
lingo,
all the lingo and stuff like that. But if it's a point that I really want to get across, then I have to use words that allow me to do it the way I like to.
I feel like code switching implies. I feel like code switching implies that it's not genuine.
Yeah.
But it really can be, especially if you're like I said, I'm half white, half black. If I'm around more white people, I will. Honestly, nowadays though, I just talk how I talk.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not gonna I'm gonna be respectful and keep in mind the environment that I'm in.
Correct.
Like that's important.
It's very important, and that's the thing. I was raised North County. You know what I mean? Like that is in me. But like a lot of people can assume because we went to Lindbergh and stuff like that, schools that are in West County, South County, that it's like, oh, they must have always been around that. No, like it's just who we are as people.
Yeah. I mean, I went to Hazelwood East. Like I was in Hazelwood my whole life. So I was around a lot of different kids, you know what I'm saying? And, and it was also a whole lot of kids that just kind of came from like low income families and stuff like that too.
Yep.
And a lot of them they didn't really care about doing good in school. They didn't really care about how they sounded and how they talked and how they communicated in different ways. So it was interesting for me to grow up in an area like that, and that's why a lot of the time people looked at me differently, like for having good grades and stuff. And people would literally bully me because I was smart. They would try to in so many situations.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask real quick before we get off on a different thing.
Yeah.
What does it take to like be motivated to motivate?
What does it take to be motivated to motivate?
Yeah, like what does it take for you in order to be like make your content, get that message across, present this to the people?
I think initially I thought that I would have to feel amazing all the time to motivate people, but that's just not reality. Some of the best and most impactful pieces of content that I've created have come from places of the most vulnerable that I've ever been. So if the reason why I even started creating before Earth To Kaylo was a thing, before I even started producing the type of videos that y'all saw, I was on a spam page, and I looked myself in the mirror one day and I was like,
how long?
What you mean?
How long were you looking at yourself in the mirror?
Probably like a solid 30 seconds, bro.
Okay,
like,
so it wasn't like you were stoned and you were just like locked in.
It was if I'm gonna be real with you, it was after a breakdown that I had, and it was something that my ex's mom had said about me, and it hit me so hard.
Yeah.
And I looked myself in the mirror and I felt like I couldn't recognize myself anymore. So I felt like I needed to make some kind of change. So I just started presenting the changes that I was making and the things that I was doing to change to a very small platform. And those people started appreciating what I was putting out there. Like I say, I'm going to the gym today. I'm gonna focus on making sure that I do the things to make myself feel good. I'm putting down the weed for a while. I'm working out. Like all of these things compounded and made me feel better about myself, but they also motivated people to do the same thing.
So was this like a small group of friends? Was this to random strangers?
It was probably mostly people that I knew, but it's just like some were just Instagram friends too. I probably had a cool 80, 90 followers on that page. Like it was more close knit, and I felt more comfortable being vulnerable at a small scale until I got really comfortable talking about the things that I've been through and the lowest points that I've had to anybody that I meet.
It's very important.
Yeah, that's definitely important to be vulnerable and be able to express the stuff you've been through, because you never know, even somebody listening to this may have gone through some shit and some words we say might help them, you know?
You literally never know, bro. And sometimes it'll be a post that I make, and it's not like I have the most followers or get the most engagement, but somebody will shoot me a DM and say, I really appreciate what you create. And that's what I do it for at the end of the day.
I think people gravitate towards positive energy, positive influence, stuff like that. And yeah, we're definitely in the time, of consuming media and how we consume media. And I've noticed like with your media, it's mostly like things like reels, things like shorts. Do you think consuming media is that the future of consuming media, you think? Instead of like doing, you have like these videos that were like back in the day, it'd be like 15 minutes. I'm going to show you how to read these books and get this car driving right behind me.
Attention spans continue to decrease at a very high percentage every decade.
I'm telling you.
Really every year, for being honest.
Look at TikTok.
Yeah, like TikTok is doing great because it allows people to get that hit of dopamine and get exactly what they want when it comes from value, whether you're being entertained, informed, inspired, or validated for whatever you're feeling. It allows you to get that really quickly and consistently.
Yep.
And the algorithm they created also allows it to learn exactly what you want to engage and interact with, which is why it was so monumental for the social media space.
Yeah. Do you try to cater like your social media, like your explore page, to like just be more positive, or is it just like booty pics on there?
No, bro. I mean, like there was a point where I was following some IG models and stuff like that, but like I purged my socials a long time ago.
Yeah,
like, I had to unfollow so many people.
It's very
it was some people that I know too. It was just like, but I think that people take it personally. But I don't, because all it means at the end of the day is this: I just don't want to see what you post. That doesn't mean that I'm not friends with you. I'm not cool with you. It's just certain things that you create that I don't really need to see in my feed.
And you know what's interesting?
Yeah.
Is sometimes I will if I meet somebody new, I'll follow them, and like if they just post like bullshit, like I'll keep following them, but I'll just mute their posts and stories. Which, I mean, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's just like social media numbers. But I'll just like
matters though. We've talked about that.
It matters so much,
it matters
bro.
A
like
lot.
if all you're consuming is what's on the Shade Room and what's on what Justin LeBoy is posting, what I'm saying, then that affects you. That affects you at your core.
Yeah.
Like the things that you consume control what you present into the world as well. So if you listen to crap, if you eat crap, and you watch crap all day, then what are you gonna feel like?
Yeah.
Crap.
There's a couple of things from that I want to get into, but that the first thing I purged was like meme pages. I don't really follow any meme pages.
Yeah.
Because like that shit is like the lowest form of like just melting your brain.
Yeah.
But that's just my opinion.
A lot of this shit's just stolen from each other.
It's just that's just pure dopamine, bro. Like, for being honest.
Do you get on TikTok?
Not nearly as much as I used to. Like really, TikTok. I would say that a lot of the time I don't really use TikTok at all. If I'm being honest, like most of what I would use TikTok for would just be for repurposing reels if I'm gonna post something on there.
Yeah, just like growth in content, basically.
For the most part, and that hasn't really came a whole lot so far. So I haven't really posted on there in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I never had a TikTok account. The only one we had is for the podcast, and it was just to like try to like grow on there. But it's kind of hard to understand the algorithm if like if you're not on TikTok personally. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Correct. I mean, like I think that a lot of people, when they think about growth, they think about the algorithm, but that's not where you start when it comes to trying to grow any kind of platform.
Yeah.
It all comes from what you find most valuable and what you feel like you can give to people, and whoever that person is, you give it to them in the way that they communicate, in the way that they consume.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Maybe that's why we didn't grow on TikTok then, right?
It's just one of those things. I feel like, when Vine first came out, like the creators that jumped on that and they kind of figured it out, those are the people who we're still watching today on YouTube. So it's like, you kind of just have to find a lane and then like grab onto what that is and then keep it going. Like we've seen numerous YouTubers like that.
I mean, the thing is, like, if you're an early adopter to any social media platform, if you can figure it out, then you can really get a lot of early growth.
Yeah.
But in order to make it sustainable, it has to be more than just trends and stuff like that.
What do you think about Thread?
I was just gonna ask that.
I'm not gonna lie, like
it's weird, right?
I don't really use Twitter that much. So like the tweets that you may have seen have been probably from a long time ago.
Yeah, well, I looked on your Instagram and you like shared them on your Instagram.
I would literally only use Twitter to post thoughts and then to share those thoughts on Instagram. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So like I like Threads, but I don't really use it that often.
Yeah, I mean Threads is not, in my personal opinion, it's not good.
No.
It's like shitty Twitter.
Yeah. Break that down
features.
for me though. Why is it shitty Twitter though?
It's shitty Twitter because there's no explore, At least the last time I looked, there's no explore page where you could find news, sports, updates, trends, what's happening, no hashtags. It's literally just your feed page, and then artificial validation, which TikTok is the #1 platform for artificial validation, because some content you would put on like YouTube or Instagram when that first started, you put on Instagram, YouTube, not that many views, maybe some, maybe like I say like 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, whatever. If you put that on TikTok and it's like some dumb shit, it will go fucking crazy. Like maybe you'll get like 50K, whatever. It will just like take off. So they specifically made TikTok like that to get creators on there, because they're like, oh, so many people like my stuff. But then I'll see people with like 300K, even 1 million followers on TikTok. Nobody knows who you are, like outside of TikTok. Like if you go like in person, though, maybe obviously you're gonna get some.
The thing about TikTok is that it's so much easier to grow, but the quality of the followers that you have are so much lower than for something like a subscriber on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
that's the same thing with why I say that about Threads is because like you get your your Instagram followers.
Yeah, off rip, and that was a huge appeal. So that's probably why they got so many early adopters and users. You got to feel validated extremely fast.
Oh my god, that first week was blowing up.
And I was on it too.
Oh, everybody made one.
Yeah, I was enjoying myself on Threads the first week. And
I
was like, nah.
I would say what I dislike about it right now is that, like you said, you don't get the explore page, all that kind of stuff, but you're basically getting Twitter without getting Twitter. You're getting Instagram.
I said shitty Twitter. Bro.
Yeah, dude. It's like it's still pictures, it's still that kind of stuff, but you're not getting the full benefits of what makes Twitter special. You know, Twitter is like one of those things. It feels like you're on a forum.
Yeah,
and you're talking to the world.
Yeah, I like Threads just because.
Yeah,
there's a couple things I like Threads for.
Okay,
I think that one of the main things is just I like the censorship a little bit more than Twitter.
It's definitely a lot.
I feel like it's a more friendly platform to be on.
I've seen somebody get on Twitter. They shot this dude, and I guess he was jealous because this girl was with this guy. Shot the dude and then shot himself. It was pretty nuts. Yeah,
and like Twitter just doesn't care. Like you can post whatever you want on there.
See that shit all the time.
Threads, you'd be banned for probably life.
Meta is not going for that, bro. Yeah. They're not going for none of that.
No.
But yeah, go ahead. You were talking about why you like Threads.
Yeah. So I like Threads just because, like, if you take a high quality picture, the pixel rate and the video quality is much higher there than it would be on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So 100%. Like, if you're a photographer or something like that, then the type of stuff that you post on Threads can be more heavily appreciated.
100%.
And you can post it in different aspect ratios without having to worry about
100%.
You know, cropping to a specific format that is for a platform. You know,
it will definitely get better. Right. It'll definitely get better over time. I know in 2 weeks it was down. Usage was down 70%. Yep. But it will definitely, like, once they add that stuff, it will get a lot more popular.
Because the only value proposition for even being on Threads was just not Twitter.
Correct. Yeah, that and then the novelty factor of like new social media platform. Let me grow on there. Yeah. And then third, you get your followers. Like you get your whoever makes Threads, usually they automatically follow you or something like that. So it's like that artificial validation.
Yeah.
But no, I do want to mention, since we were talking about like the good days and bad days thing, and we were also talking about Kobe. Kobe mentioned something like that when I asked him about it, and he was like, yes, he has like very bad times and also very high highs and low lows, but like he mainly tries to keep his content positive. Because, like, just, like, what he's putting out there in the world, like, nobody wants to hear about your, like, you know, shit you're going through. Sometimes that will help people, but, like, in the main, like, if you were just to put that out, he was like, yeah, nobody wants to hear, like, the bad shit I'm going through. Because it's just, like, they want that positive Kobe. That was his view on it.
Yeah, but, it's a difference. Because what Kobe does is just purely produce joy from somebody really watching his content. Like, it just makes people laugh. So people come to him for a specific reason, and a lot of time it's an escape from whatever they have going on too. And it's not always bad to take a break and to take a break and remove yourself from the things you have going on and maybe watch a YouTube video, watching Netflix for a while or something like that. And if you can be that for somebody else, then that's an amazing thing, you know.
Yeah. And it's like you said, when people watch him specifically, they want that like joy, they want to have fun, they want that escape. So it's different depending on like what kind of creator you are, you know? And like if you're the creator that like your content is like personal growth, like you're gonna have to be vulnerable and have to share that for people to like actually take you serious and like feel like you're being genuine, you know? I think that's definitely important. How important are books to you?
Books are really important, bro. Like if there's that saying where people say like, if you want to hide something from a black person, just put it in a book.
Put it in a book.
We don't like to read in so many situations, and that's where some of the most like life-changing wisdom is inside of a book, and it's some of the knowledge is just eternal. Like it's some serious wisdom in there, and it's applicable to different. Like there's books where people are able to give you game that will apply to any time period, and it can allow you to come up with some essential truths that never change, no matter if it's a decade ago or 3 decades from now. And that's what I like the most about getting some value from a book, because I'm a very auditory person too, so I listen to audiobooks pretty often, and I can do whatever I need to do and consume something and get something out of it, and also like look into myself and be more introspective and figure out what I can take out of that and apply to my life. And that's a big part of what allows me to continue to be inspirational, because if I could continue to consume things that inspire me, then I'm able to provide my perspective on those things, and also tell people about those resources as well.
Yeah, there's like sometimes, I don't know if you've ever felt this way. I don't know if you've ever felt this way, but I mean, sometimes in life for me, if like obviously we're always creating weekly, and I'm doing the radio stuff and creating weekly, but sometimes in life I feel like I'm stalling. I'm like, I'm not getting better necessarily. Like I need to get better as a person. I feel like I need constant growth, and like one big way you can do that is either reading or listening to audiobooks, because there's a whole, like you said, there's like something you could tap into that like you would never have, or somebody might never tell you. I just been reading or listening to Stephen A. Smith's book. Man, he's got like that shit is, I already know like lessons from that is gonna help me in just like learning all the stuff he's been through. And like one thing that pisses me off is like every time I bring him up, people will be like, "Oh, he's an idiot," blah blah blah, and like just because they don't agree with his like sports takes. But like if you really know his story and like stuff he's gone through, you would not help but respect him. You know what I mean? Like that's just a big thing, and that's definitely something. If you ever feel like you're stalling, is just go tap into like an audiobook or something. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, that was a lot. Like I was telling him, I've been reading Greenlight for forever, but it's one of those books where like I didn't know that much about Matthew McConaughey, and like you said, it's just like learning so much about a certain person and like the struggle and like the story that they have. It's just incredible to me, because like every single person you've seen in media has gone through some sort of struggle. Every single successful person ever has gone through some sort of struggle. So, it's very important as a young black man in St. Louis that we do definitely have that I guess that drive to go ahead and find that out for ourselves, because like the competition around us, they're not doing that. A lot of our people who look like just like us are not doing that,
They're not. And it's about that extra. They're not looking for the clues, bro.
Correct.
Like that. Like I read Will Smith's book.
Ooh, yeah. I've been wanting to read that.
It was an amazing read. The main thing that I took away from it was that there's so many different areas of his life where he had to force himself to overcome something, and a big proponent of his life was trying to be able to increase his emotional intelligence. Yeah, obviously he's still working on that.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
But we all are, and I think something that you said earlier was interesting. Like, it was the way that you were saying that you really prioritize consistent growth. But I think that something that one of my mentors told me was we're consistently becoming. We're always becoming. So it doesn't matter how far you feel like you've come, you'll always look for some way to continue to improve yourself.
Absolutely, or you should.
Yeah, I definitely feel like you should. But at the same time, like you have to take a second to look back and understand how far you've come.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's a big factor as well, because like definitely just like with the podcast or being here, like, and I feel like for me that happens through conversations, and like once you tell your story, you kind of like are reminded of how far you came.
Yeah,
it's definitely important.
So what was it specifically that made you like, hey, like I feel like you should have him on the pod, and then hit me?
Oh, you? Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I did tell you I was going to mention that. So I was actually talking to him. I was texting him about like, I think either you got a new phone or you're showing me some videos that we used to make for Vine. Back in the day, you remember Vine or no?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So Vine was the shit.
We tried getting popping on there.
Man, I think I had like
we tried. Everybody tried.
That was the first like that was the first platform that like I mean obviously he said he started early on YouTube. I did as well. I think my first form of like making content was doing Lego videos. So like I was probably like I don't know 8, 9, and like I had a flip phone and like I would do like little like stop cuts of like the Lego things, you know, moving around.
We did vlogs for a little bit there.
We filmed a bunch. We filmed a bunch
on YouTube. So
even before I even knew you, like we were filming stuff. Just like when you got a camera in your hand, there's something very special about that.
Yeah.
So we started on that, and we did Vine back in the day, and then this was 10 years ago. I think it was around like 2013, 2014.
Yeah.
And then he had showed me something the other day about just like all the videos he had. I'm like, hey, send me this video because there was a song in there that like I've been trying to find this fucking
song.
Looking
for this shit forever, dude.
For 10 years, bro. For 10 years. Like it's a little snippet of a song.
Yeah.
It's just like a small snippet. And I was like there was a little bit of lyrics in there. And then I would look up the lyrics, but they were always like wrong, you know? So like I could never find the song. And then nowadays, and since it's 2023, we got like was it Shazam or like SoundHound and shit?
Yeah.
So like I found the song like that. Like once he sent me the video. So then I don't know. It was a very inspiring thing to like listen to the song, and I was like driving into work. It was probably like 3:40 a.m. You know, just went on the highway, and like I try to put music on that's gonna like make me get into that mode, or like either inspire me, just depending on how I'm feeling. If I'm like I need to be more calm, I might do that.
Yeah.
But I was listening to the song and I was like, okay, I'm feeling like very motivated and stuff, and just like that combined with. We were looking back at some of the content we used to make. It was more like inspirational, more motivational. Now we talk about like either what's going on in the world, lifestyle, culture, just depending on who we're talking to. But we used to push like more like kind of similar to your content. And once I was listening to that song and like driving to work, I was thinking like, oh, we should have him on. You know, it's just like it popped up in my mind because like your content, and then just like from the conversation we had, just about like. Just like motivation and like
just life, bro.
Yeah, just life. Yeah. And like once I get that sort of thought about like, okay, I want to have this person on. That's the next step I'm gonna take, and then now we're here now. So that's like how it has to happen, at least in my mind.
Man, that actually means a lot, bro.
Yeah,
like the fact that conversation at the video shoot was, you know, enough to make you feel like like. I definitely feel like we should have him on the pod.
Yeah,
for
that
like
combined with like the content that you make as well. So it's not, it's definitely like a combination of those two things. But yeah,
okay, bet. Like, I was genuinely curious, you know, because like I said, I kind of been thinking about trying to get onto some pods just so I could get into really talking and conversing with people more often.
Yeah, man. The best way to find out information about somebody is through a podcast, in my opinion. Just because. Every podcast I've ever watched about a famous person or an author or an actor or an athlete, anything like that, I always 100% find out more than I've ever found out like through their social media, through seeing a book or a show or anything like that. Honestly, some books, obviously, like, you know, you get really personal, but like if you're looking for direct to the person content, like podcast, is like the best content you can get as far as figuring out someone. So like when you have these personal like conversations on camera, you're getting the authentic of anybody that you talk to, and that's what I like about it.
Sometimes it depends.
Sometimes, but that's what I like about it.
Still be playing, bro.
Yeah.
Oh, easy. Yeah.
I mean,
it never stops.
Sometimes you can see through it, but I would say books, and then like book people write about themselves, And then podcasts, definitely sometimes like documentaries are good forms to like find out about somebody. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting thing. I definitely think if you're curious and you want to find out about people, and like you seem like a naturally curious guy, and
I'm super curious, bro. And I was raised to be that way.
Yeah.
And like people try to kill curiosity because when kids ask why, they say because.
Yeah.
Or because I said so.
Yeah. I was
never told that though. And that's probably why I am the way I am. Like, I was built to be okay with being curious. And that is why I'm so inquisitive. That's why I care so much about, you know, why you all start this podcast and where you feel like you want to be in like 5 years from now, which is something that I do want to hear as well.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
For sure.
I'll do a deep dive on that. Do you have like a piece of advice that you remember from being a kid? Because I remember mine was something that I always hold with me. It's like similar to what you're saying is kids have this natural like inclination to be curious and just want to learn. You ever heard the advice like never stop being a kid?
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, there's like a whole deeper thing that we talked about on a different podcast with it's like Latin archetype. It's called like puer aeternus. It means forever God, child God, or like basically like you probably heard the term man child. There's like different aspects of life you need to grow in, but like you should always Carl Jung, the psychologist, he was like an old man at the time. There's an archetype of the wise old man, and like just when you get older, you kind of like think you know it all, become a little bit cynical. There's good aspects because you do know more, but he basically was kind of, I guess he was depressed, and he was trying to like understand why, and he was thinking it came from like when he was a kid. So he started playing like childhood games and everything, and that kind of opened him up to like being happier and like appreciating how far he's came and like having more of that childlike instinct. So it's definitely a factor you need to, in my opinion, you need to keep, is like always have that like childhood drive of like, you know, being more playful and like being curious. So that's important. But yeah, back to the question. What is there any advice you heard when you were a kid that kind of like stuck with you like that?
Advice I heard from a kid. You know, a lot of the time
as a kid, sorry.
A lot of the time I don't remember specific things that people say to me. Like there's a lot of the time like I might remember a moment, but a lot of things compounded. And it's just a lot of encouraging specific values and ways of thinking. So I think it was really just, like I said, the way that people interacted with me in my household. Like they consistently allowed me to be curious and pushed me to do and try different things. Like I had so many different hobbies, man. Like I used to like stack cards when I was a kid and try to make up these huge buildings and stuff. So I thought I was gonna be an architect. I used to be heavily into like martial arts. I still enjoy like kickboxing and stuff like that, but I used to think that I was gonna be some crazy martial artist or something. And then I was into dancing. Like I used to do like yo-yoing and stuff. You know, people actually compete with that too, which is kind of crazy.
No, I low-key love that shit too. It's fun.
I don't know. Like I just had so many different interests, and each one that I had, my family encouraged it. Continuously, and allowed me to dive into whatever it was.
I think that's extremely important, especially because like if you're trying to figure out what you want to do with your life or your purpose in life or your role in society, you have to try all these things to know, okay, this ain't mine. You know, like that's not my purpose. Maybe like you're yo-yoing one day and you're like, okay, like I don't fuck with this no more. You know,
and that's what happens, bro. Like it'd be one day that I was super into it, and then it would slowly kind of trickle off, and I move on to something else. And it's kind of been that way continuously in life for me. Like even with me creating, when I started creating for other people, first I thought I was going to be a photographer, so I started taking pictures, and I'm like, this isn't really what I want to do. Then I started just doing regular videos and videography, and I tried a music video. I'm like, oh, I don't think that's really for me either. And I had the opportunity for somebody to hit me and say, okay, well, I like the content you create. You did a fashion show for me because I did some modeling as well.
Yeah, I seen you taking a little bit, like the photo shoot and stuff.
Yeah, that was the first thing that I thought I was going to do, was be a fashion influencer or a model. I called myself a model because I was posting pictures all the time, trying to build a platform.
I would consider you a model, an IG model.
Let's not use that.
I'm
playing. But yeah, man, like it was so many different things that I got interested in, and each time that I would introduce something different, I would either say, okay, I like it, and I'm go this direction with it, or I'm like, this isn't really for me, and I'll pivot some other way.
You know? Agree.
Yeah.
Agree, man.
That's definitely an important factor. So before I answer the question, what do you see yourself doing? You're gonna go 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter.
5 years, 10 years. Let's go 5 years, man. Well, I don't know if y'all know exactly what I do right now. So I'm a content creator, but I also have a marketing agency.
Okay.
And we specialize in social media. So the entire goal for me, and I'm realizing this more now that I get to have more conversations with different organizations. I like working with people that provide some sort of impact and that really care about offering resources or value to communities that really need it. So the goal for us will really be to bridge the gap between potentially nonprofit organizations and the audiences that they're trying to reach through social. So that includes an entire strategy from like who this person is and the type of person that they are and what you provide, and figuring out how to bridge that and communicate that through visuals.
Okay.
So like I've produced videos, but it's not just I come in and shoot a bunch of videos for you. Like it has to be some kind of strategy behind it. And the team that I work with now is just amazing. You know, like I have the ability to provide some opportunities to new creatives and freelancers and stuff like that, just because some people see my content as like, hey, I want something like that. But at the same time, like I really just want to help you expand your reach and your brand awareness, because I know you're trying to provide impact just like I am.
Yeah.
So when it comes to expanding Cat Media, which is the name of the agency.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that. Yeah.
I want it to be an educational platform. So I want to provide as much knowledge as I can on what it really takes to make good content. Okay. And it's more than just the videos you create. It has to come from some kind of bigger reason behind what you're trying. Yeah, your story is extremely important. And communicating that beyond whatever product you provide is what allows people to create lasting connections with a brand. Yeah. And so really 5 years from now, I want to have a education platform, and I would also like to build up my personal brand as well as provide this service to a multitude of different organizations to help them reach their goals as well.
That's dope. Is there a specific like archetype or type of person you like to work with, or are you looking to work with?
I like to work with people that are continuously innovative and that see themselves as a vessel for a bigger purpose. And whatever that purpose is usually comes from some underlying event or story that I love to learn about myself. And the more that I remain curious and ask the follow-up questions to dig deeper into what makes them who they are and what made them found the organization that we're planning on working with, it allows me to learn more about how we can help communicate, to exactly who they're trying to connect with on the other side of the screen.
You want to say your 5 to 10 year goal?
I would say... So I just recently, I'm moving and purchased a house and stuff to live and stuff like that. So for me, I would say I would definitely want to build the brand as far as the podcast. Like I want to make us the number one in St. Louis. Like I think that's something that's very tangible and something that we've been working towards. So that's one of the things I want to do short term with the pod. And then also personal, I would say I want to be living in a place that I love. I want to be next to people that I love. So I want to definitely, whether that be like getting a wife or being just like fine with myself, but like having more of a sense of self. Like that's kind of what I want to be in 5 years. And then honestly, just keep growing, man. Keep growing as a person, keep growing as a man.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. I want to be more solid.
Yeah, that's dope. I'd say for me, right now, something I want to do in like 5 to 10 years is I want to own my own like a media company. I'm working on it now, getting the LLC and stuff. But I want to have like different podcasts or like different like forms of media kind of under me. And I also did want to ask you, like, because you do have there's two sides of like content in a way when you get to like a higher level. There's like the talent, and then I guess you could group the talent in with like all the producers and different stuff. But then there's like the management side, and that's something I never had to deal with yet necessarily. I mean I do for like the pod and stuff, but like coaching talent or like it's different when you create the content and you're like you are the talent versus like managing all this talent. So I'm interested to see how that challenge is. And I'm guessing you probably dealt with something similar since you do the marketing stuff.
Yeah. So like I said, somebody gave me the opportunity to create for them. And so I would go into her store in the Galleria and shoot content based upon the clothing apparel that she would offer. And I quickly figured out that it would be in my best interest to have somebody else edit the footage for me, even if I was going to shoot everything, because either I'm not the fastest of an editor or my time would be better at use somewhere else, whether I'm trying to find more clients or just trying to continue to network and build other avenues in my life too. So I figured out fast that delegation was important, but in order to delegate, the first thing I did was I had to figure out somebody that could edit this stuff.
Yeah, trust is a big thing.
So a lot of the time, that's where people stop, or they find one person and they don't give them exactly what they want and then they stop working with them. So I posted on Instagram like, hey, who does anybody edit social content? I actually got a message from a good friend of mine now that works with the agency. Her name's Diamond. And I pretty much told her exactly what I would need. I sent her some videos, gave her a briefing, and had her edit them. And when I got them back, I'm like, well, this is good, but there's a level of coaching that you have to do to get people to exactly where you want them to. Okay. If somebody can get you to 60% of the way, then that's amazing, because that's
pretty good.
Yeah, then that puts you in the position to say, okay, let's review and figure out exactly how I can get you to understand my vision and to create through my lens.
Yeah.
So eventually you'll get to 70 and 80, and if you can get to 90% of what exactly you want from them when it comes to working with like a freelancer or outsourcing or something like that, then that's a great position to be in.
Yeah.
Because then that allows you to remove yourself a lot more from the entirety of the things that other people can do either better, faster, or sometimes more strategically than you can. And understanding that even though you may be the sole creative, if you're like the brand yourself, or if you're the host of the pod, there's so many different areas of distribution that you could be leveraging.
Right.
And you might not be the expert at that. And there's only certain things that y'all can do. There's certain things. Well, I'm sorry. There's certain things that only y'all can do.
Correct.
Which is moments like this. So the other areas of your business, which is what this is at the end of the day, or what you may be trying to grow it into becoming, then you have to figure out what leverages your time the best for your biggest return on investment.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like we always would say like, oh, we never want this to become like a money thing or like a business. But you learn after, I mean, we've been doing it, 4 years? And like really taking it seriously.
Yeah.
I think like, was that at the beginning of this year or last year?
Yeah, I was going to say about 2 years. So
last year. Well, I know this year for sure, like we've been doing hard. Every week, every week. Because it's one thing having a podcast, and then like you'll shoot. Some people shoot once a month. Some people shoot once every 3 months. Some people do it every week. Some people like fucking Joe Rogan, they'll shoot like 3 times a week. Go hard. There's just levels to this shit, but like you learn that it does have to become a business if you want to like make money off of it.
And that's the main thing, man. It's like, as a creative, you may not be in it for the money, but the money is what allows you to have the freedom to create more.
Correct.
Exactly.
Which means that you have to think logically about how you can leverage it in a certain way to generate some kind of income.
Correct.
Exactly.
Which is very possible. But in order to get there, you have to build an audience, which means you got to leverage everybody that you have access to.
Yeah. So it's interesting too, because like I'm gonna definitely take your advice, and like that's something that me personally, and I know I'm in the same boat as like a ton of true creatives, where it's like it's hard for you to give up some of that control when like you're like, okay, I want this edited this way, I want it produced this way. But that's definitely, if you could give some advice for just like being able to trust somebody with having control of like your content, or
it's a lot of the time. Now, I didn't experience this personally, because most of the people I met have just been great from the beginning, which isn't very common.
That might be a factor though.
Yeah, it's a big factor. Yeah, but it comes down to a numbers game, and you being okay with understanding that everybody will not be a best fit for what you're trying to create.
Correct.
So what you'll have to do is you'll have to put people in the position to give them tests, very small tests, to see if they can get you to that 60% of what you really want out of you're working with them.
Okay.
And if they can get you to 60, then it's up to you to create an outline and a briefing for what you can do in order to help them. And it's your job to coach them up to where you need them to get, to where you need them to be. Whether that's an editor, which would allow you to increase your distribution, or a social media manager that allows you to take hands off of your own social channels and just shoot all day and release more. So what I would like implore you all to ask yourself is, what does your time mean to you? And what can you spend your time doing that gives you the best return on investment? Like, list out every aspect of what you have to do for your pod, and then put your name next to things that only you can do. And you'll realize that there's only a few things that only you can do. And I guarantee you there's somebody out there in the world that could do other areas faster than you can, or either potentially better than you can.
Yeah.
But maybe they can't do it through your lens yet, but it's your job to figure out how to get them there.
Yeah. That's interesting, especially with like I said, I am in the process of creating a media company, and like that's something I'm definitely gonna have to outsource. Obviously, if you want like talent or podcasts under you, that's something that's gonna have to, like, you're gonna have to find people. I'm gonna have to figure out how to, even in the first place, find these people and like be able to coach them. If they need coaching, maybe they, like you said, they might be better than me at the certain field, but like get it edited, get it distributed. But yeah, I'll definitely take that advice.
For sure, man. And I would say the sooner you get into it, the sooner you build up resistance for feeling like you could have done it better yourself. And you'll understand that even though you may
there's like a threshold where you have to, like, where you learn that.
You have to, because in the beginning, you will never get it exactly how you want it to. And it's going to take more of your time to coach them than it will take for you to do it yourself. And it will never be perfect, the way that you would do it until you get them to that level.
Yeah. So technically right now I work for an entertainment company. We own like a ton of different podcasts, a ton of different like radio stations. And it's funny, like in my interview, they asked me the similar question, like, where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years? And I was like, well, they asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I was like, well, it's more like a 10-year thing. And I told them, like, I want to create an entertainment company. And like, I'm basically like, if I don't know if you ever read 48 Laws of Power, but it's like
I know I've read the laws, but I didn't read the whole book.
So one of the laws is like work as a friend, act as a spy, but it's not even that kind of applies to what I'm doing here, but it's not even necessarily a spy thing, because I fucking told them. I was like, yeah, so I'm basically learning everything I need to know about an entertainment company, taking that aspect and like gonna build my own company.
Yeah, and that's an amazing thing to do, right? So like what I decided to do it's really a creative agency, and there's so many different services that you can offer with a creative agency. So I decided to try to put myself in the position to get an internship with a creative agency. But every time that I've tried, I've actually been denied. But because I put myself out there, I now have a network of creatives that work in different agencies that are either entry level or have been doing it for a while. So that allows me to learn from those people, even from not actually working in one myself. And the other thing that I would say is something that I actually just did was I invested in a business coach. And one of the first things the coach told me was he was surprised at how easy I was able to understand that people can do things better than I can in different areas of the business.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest part as somebody that's like a true creative. Like I was saying, like that's giving up. That is like one of the biggest things, and probably one of the biggest barriers for creatives in general.
I think one of the main things is understanding how great people can be at what they do.
Yeah.
And then really sitting down and asking yourself, how good am I at this specific piece?
It's like an ego thing.
Business. Yes. Yeah, bro. It's a huge ego thing, because I thought that it was only me that could produce content that got numbers, right?
Yeah.
And I had to do the entirety of the process.
Especially when it works.
Yeah.
Especially when it works.
Because I mean, I had a piece of content that I produced that went up on one of my clients' TikToks. They got like 50,000 views and returned her like $8,000 to $10,000 in 2 days of it being up, which paid for my services in full plenty of times. So the value is there. But I have to figure out, what does it take in order to get somebody to be able to think like me when they edit content. So I started implementing things like standard operating procedures, and I'm about to start adding checklists and stuff like that for people to do as they edit my content or as they do different areas, in order to make sure that they cover all the bases and think like I do as the core strategist.
There's a lot that goes into that kind of stuff that people don't know about.
Sure.
You see people like PewDiePie and like these big names who've just been putting consistent content out for years. Markiplier is one of those guys I was gonna mention earlier, that you said, like, when it comes from people who just like reward on negativity and stuff like that, and like real aspects of life, he's one of those perfect examples. But like I was gonna say, like that content they put out every day and like every week, and Joe Rogan, all these people, and they're pushing stuff out, they've probably sat in a room and, figured it out with people who are like that, people who manage their podcasts and stuff like that.
Or you just do thousands and thousands of episodes.
I mean, you got 2,000 episodes under your belt.
Yeah.
Like, eventually you're going to get to that point where you start to get someone else in there. And, that's very important, man. And like, as you talk about like being a creative and letting someone take the ropes, it's just, that's very interesting. Because you see,
it's a breakthrough that you have to get to.
Yeah.
Right. So like from me telling y'all this right now, the sooner that you implement it, the sooner you will be able to scale, because you can only leverage your time so much. So that
that's
very important.
If it's a possibility for you all to be able to hire somebody to do one area, then I would highly recommend it. And then I would, whenever you do that, hit me. Like, let me know how it's
working. For sure. I appreciate the advice, man.
Yeah.
So you talked a couple more questions for you. You talked about like denial and rejection. Some might classify it as like failure in a way, or just a form of failure. How do you deal with that, and how does that affect you?
I think what you're referencing is kind of when I told you that I felt like I was failing in multiple areas.
Well, that, and then you said you applied to like all different internships and they denied.
Oh yeah, so like actually the one that I applied to, I thought I was gonna get it, man. I thought because the interview I thought it went so well. I thought that I had built a connection with other people on the side of the screen, with people on the other side of the screen, and I ended up getting an email from them telling me that I didn't get chosen, and there were 4 people in the interview, and
that's not that much.
3 people they were hiring. So I was like, my odds are great.
Yeah.
I got this, you know what I'm saying? I got the text. I was picking up my mom from work, and it hit me so hard. It hit me, and I was like, I ended up like, I was like, bro, like, why didn't I get this? Like, like what's happening right now? And then I shed a couple tears because I wanted it so bad, bro. I just wanted to be in the ecosystem and to learn, to be in a position like this that you're in, and see the inside out of what I'm trying to build myself. And then I was like, you know what? It's okay. For some reason, when I get rejected, it fires me up. I don't know what happens.
I was about to ask you because there's 2 things. I'll say this quote. So obviously you heard pressure makes diamonds, and pressure. I don't know if you heard this one. Pressure bursts pipes. So it's like 2 ways you could go. You could either let that make you fold, or you could use that as motivation. I'll share a similar story of rejection. So I was trying to. It was actually probably recent, maybe a couple months ago. St. Louis City SC, the soccer team, they were like hiring like a media assistant.
I've seen that position.
Yeah. So a lot of people in the field I'm in and people I know, they're like in booth assistants for like Cardinals and stuff because we're the Cardinals radio network. It's pretty easy to go from working the Cardinals games to be like in booth. You just have to be right place, right time. You have to know baseball, whatever, just like certain aspects. But like if you work here, it's almost like if you're the guy and like you work hard, you'll probably get the job. But it just has to be like open and available. And when that position became available for the St. Louis City SC, I'm like, oh, we literally work on soccer games. Like I already know how to communicate between like the station and then doing like in-booth stuff and helping them out. And like we had a guy in there working the Cardinals games. Like I've done that. Like I've literally ran an entire Cardinals games for the affiliate networks. There's like 150 different radio stations that it's going to. So like if you fuck up, people will know about it. Yeah. And like you're gonna hear about it. So it's a lot of pressure and stuff. I'm like a perfect fit for this. And then I applied twice, actually. I applied twice, and like first time I got rejected, I'm like, damn, like it sucks because like I really wanted to do that and like advance my position in career. And then I was like, nothing happened, so I was like, okay, got the email, the rejection, and then I tried again later, still failed. But it's just something like, oh, okay, you're going to reject me. I'm gonna make sure that you regret the decision.
I swear I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I feel the exact same way. I was like, give me 5 to 10 years. I want to compete with your agency.
Oh yeah.
That's what I really want to do.
You want to become like such an influence or such a powerful entity that like they're gonna be like, fuck, we should have.
Yeah, I mean, you missed out, man.
Yeah,
like because I know my value.
Yep.
I know the potential of what I can create. You know, like I was hoping to come provide some value to you while I learn something. So it's all mutual. But if you don't want me, then I'll just learn from the people you hire. That's fine.
Yeah,
and I'll hire them too as freelancers. That's cool.
Exactly. And you have to like. Somebody
shit,
told me one time, like, at my other job, it's more like a manual labor type of thing. But some advice he gave me is like, you have to work hard for yourself, not for the company. Like, a lot of people get wrapped up in that and like thinking that like, oh, the company doesn't care about me, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't work hard. I'm going to do the bare minimum or like just get by, show up to work, do the job. But like when you put in that extra work, you're building your internal, and then obviously somebody's going to notice. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Somebody will notice.
Yes, bro. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I'm a leader or manager, or however you want to call it. And I've worked at the company I've been at for a couple of years now. And like, you know, I've seen like young kids come and go in like the field that I am. And I'm not an older guy. I'm an older guy, but I'm not like super old. I'm not 30, 40.
You're 25, right?
25, you know, so it's like...
Stop it, bro. You're talking about I'm older.
Yeah, right? I'm like, bro, you're 25.
But the people I work with, I'm considered an older guy. And so, you know, I work with a lot of like younger kids, 19, 18, you know, 17, you know, 20. So like the best advice I always give them is, because they're always like wanting... They're like, oh, how do I make more money here? How do I get to where you are? Like, how do I get like that much money and stuff like that? Or how do I get the title? And it's like the same thing. I always tell them, it's like, if you guys come to work and you just half-ass it, like how he was saying, if you come to work and you just like want to collect a paycheck, and you come to work, you don't even want the job really. Why would someone pay you more money doing the exact same thing if you're showing them like what you're doing right now? You're showing them what they're going to pay for. And like, I'm not going to pay for somebody that who's coming to work and they're just giving half the percent, you know, where this other guy over here who's giving 110%. And it's just one of those things, man. Like, you won't really progress at where you are if you don't like continue to be that person that you want to be. So that's 100% like it's a real thing. It's a very real thing. And like Drew said, you don't want to get wrapped up in necessarily being a part of the company. You want to be wrapped up in like being the company or beating the company.
It's all about how you can improve yourself based upon the role that you play in the company.
Correct.
You know? Well, and I would say, you know, I really try to live in service in all areas. So if I'm a part of a project or I'm a part of a company or organization, like I want to figure out how I can provide the most value as possible based upon the skills that I have. You know?
Because
it's beyond what I can get in return. Like you have to do it so selflessly that that's how it feels the most authentic. You know what I'm saying?
And it's very important, man, because you don't want to become stagnant where you are, and you also don't want to become one of those people who you think that you've capped, like you've accomplished everything.
Bro, the expansion of self is endless, bro. It's literally endless. That's the reason why the self-improvement space gets a bad rep sometimes, is because people capitalize on how limitless it can really feel, and they say the same things over and over again and still people on the same stories. But I think it really all comes down to what your real mission is beyond what you're presenting. Like,
and authenticity.
Yeah, if you're just trying to rope in people that are vulnerable and feel like they can come to you because they need some sort of advice, and you're not really providing them with a way for them to change their position or transform their life, then what are you really doing?
Correct. There's a whole conversation about that with like red pill and stuff, but we'll get into it maybe on a different episode or something. But if you had some advice for either people watching, maybe like the young kids that might maybe in our position one day, what would you tell them?
I would tell them to try as many things as possible, man. Like, it really comes down to that childlike curiosity that we talked about earlier. It's extremely important for you to dive into whatever you're interested in and go down the rabbit holes. Build skills around what you truly find joy in doing, and figure out how you can leverage those skills in a way to provide value to someone. And from there, that's how you'll be able to get some sort of income. But if you don't look to add value to increase your income, then you won't get anywhere fast.
There you go. Where can people find you?
Man, you can find me on Instagram at Earth To Kaylo, TikTok, same thing, YouTube coming soon. And you can follow the agency's page at Cat Media on Instagram. We'll be on some other platforms soon, but the main thing is for us to provide you with some resources and help nonprofits get some brand awareness, as well as giving you what I know when it comes to strategic, creative thinking.
That's what's up.
There you go. I mean, we appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. I feel like we kicked a lot of game. You know, we'll probably have to do it another time as well.
Man, I would love to, bro. Like I said, it means the world that you thought of me to be here when it comes to something like that. I definitely plan on doing more podcasts and having my own at some point. Yeah. I love the perspective that y'all gave.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to see y'all growth as a podcast as well.
Yeah, man. Hopefully by the next time we do another episode, you'll have your podcast going, you know. Get a couple interviews in there. We'll see. We'll see what happens,
man. When I have it, y'all, please come on. Let's 100%. Have another conversation.
For sure. That'd be dope. We've never been on anybody else's pod.
No.
Yeah. This is the first pod that I've been on, man, where I had the opportunity for somebody to really ask me about, you know, my story and give some game. So, like I said, I really appreciate it, y'all.
Yeah, man.
For sure.
But thank you guys for listening to the podcast. This is the Kickback Lounge podcast. Make sure you rate 5 stars. Go follow him on his platforms. We'll have the link in the bio. Comment your thoughts if you think that we gave some good advice, if you think we gave some shit advice. Let us know if there's anything else you want us to talk about. Let us know. Thanks for listening. We out.
We out.
Yes, sir.